Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While the COVID crisis has hit our province hard, we know that some of the families are feeling the pain more than the others. Blacks, Indigenous, racialised Ontarians, low-income families and women. Mr. Speaker, these Ontarians are the ones who have been left to suffer, while this Premier chose to stand by and watch. So my question, Mr. Speaker, through you to the Premier, why, when you know your decisions have hurt some Ontarians more than the others, would you vote against my motion to adopt a COVID equity strategy?
Government House Leader to respond.
I'm sorry, Speaker. Principally, as the member knows, quite honestly, and we've seen this over the last day, these are issues that are brought forward at the table, at the House Leaders' table. Typically, we don't like to be caught off by surprise by motions that are brought to the table, and as we have done the entire time since I've been House Leader and before me, motions that are brought to the table by surprise are going to be voted down, Mr. Speaker. That's just the way the process works. I encourage the honourable member, if he wants to bring forward a motion for debate that this whole House can consider, he should use his time that is available to him. The member will know he had a lot of time to pass a private member's bill. I was happy to work with him to pass his private member's bill by following the process, Mr. Speaker. So I would encourage the member, when the member has a spot available to him, do it in the proper fashion so that all members of provincial parliament can have a say in that. If it's something that is appropriate for us to pass, we'll pass it. If it's not, we'll vote it down.
Supplementary question.
Mr. Speaker, you've got the letter last week. We know what happens when we don't have an equity strategy, Mr. Speaker. Some people suffer more than the others. We are seeing in my community of York South-Western. Many families in my community are now on the frontline workers of this crisis, Mr. Speaker, because this government chose not to support them or help them stay safe at home. Mr. Speaker, again through you to the Premier, will you commit to ensuring that your government's pandemic response, from vaccine rollout to financial recovery, has a plan to help those who have been hurt the most?
The Government House Leader again.
Again, Mr. Speaker, just to talk a little bit about the process, the House Leader teams have met on 3 separate occasions, and at no time was any of the motions that the member talked about, or the Leader of the Opposition, or the unanimous consents that we have seen, was that ever brought to the table for priority consideration by the member, by the NDP, Mr. Speaker. The letter in question that they talk about was actually sent to my constituency office. I didn't receive it until yesterday, Mr. Speaker. But as I said to the honourable honourable gentleman through you, Mr. Speaker, this House considers private members' motions and private members' bills. There's a process in place to do that, and the appropriate way to do that is the same way as his bill, his private member's bill, which passed earlier, which was a good bill, Mr. Speaker, was proud to support it. I know all members were proud to support it. If you have a quality piece of legislation, if you have a quality motion, this House will give it its due consideration and will pass it. But, Mr. Speaker, surprises will always be voted down by this side of the House because we have to give it consideration in the appropriate fashion.